love, and longing. Dear God, I get it. New alien race, completely different, friendly, and lonely. Stop spamming me, Vernon says, as he sends a threat to block the rest of the nerd squad if they don't stop sending pictures of people hanging out with the Tree. Apparently, he was already the unofficial, or perhaps unwitting mascot of the nerd squad. There were about 50 images of the little thing eating cookies or drinking something. A few of the Tree playing games, and Vernon can only roll his eyes and put the communicator in sleep mode to get away from it all. It's a good thing that your kind don't have the natural aversion to the Tree. They haven't been treated fairly by the galaxy at large. Miro Noir notes as she sits next to him. He pulls her close and gives her a hug that she cuddles into. Have you met them before? I'm afraid so. During my wanderings, I nearly literally bumped into one. My reflexes betrayed me and I nearly killed an innocent. It took a long time to forgive myself after that. Miro Noir admits, cuddling deeper into Vernon at the memory. I know the little being was harmless. I know it. But its mere presence made me feel like my soul was screaming, as if a deadly enemy had a blade to my neck and I would die if I did not attack. He squeezes her gently for comfort. Neither gods nor heroes are perfect. It's a wonderful goal to strive for, but only with the understanding that it won't ever be reached. I know, but it's still shameful. Miro Noir muses. Just something to learn from. Vernon downplays it gently and they start just luxuriating in each other's presence. Then an insistent beeping goes off. They both check their communicators at the unfamiliar ring and then race through the house to the incubator. The eggs were all in a bundle together due to old Apuk practices, sisterhood beginning before hatching could. One of the eggs is shaking ever so slightly. As an Apuk egg matures, it actually grows ever so slightly, eventually becoming harder and then brittle when the child is ready to be born. Spines, initially soft to avoid harming the mother, stick out every which way to help it cling to the nest and prevent predators from running off with them. A very, very old defensive measure that was not needed, but still a distinct feature of Apuk eggs. One of the eggs, the leftmost one to be specific, shivers ever so slightly. We're in the safe zone, thank goodness, is all Vernon can say as he and Miro Noir are spellbound by the slight shivering of the egg. An early hatching, but not a dangerously early hatching. They open the incubator and lean in closer as the shaking grows ever so slightly. Then the egg grows still. The stillness doesn't last long, however, as there's a sudden slight jerk to the side and the egg suddenly loses all color. She broke the membrane, Miro Noir gasps, as the entire egg takes on a brittle texture and suddenly tilts to the side as the spines crumble. She reaches in and catches the egg as the squirming from the baby inside utterly demolishes the suddenly fragile shell. The shell crumbles away and soon all that's left is chalky dust on the membrane that the baby pushes away before letting out a cry. The sound pushes the staring Vernon to act, and he quickly closes the incubator again, even as their newborn cries. She's beautiful, Miro Noir gushes as she kisses the baby on the brow. Help me with this. After several months of pressure, it will be worth it. Vernon is instantly on the move, helping maneuver down her dress so she can feed their newly hatched baby. He also grabs a nearby towel and then rushes to grab the diapers, call the doctor so their newborn can get all their shots and an evaluation. Double check that things are recording and they have this on record. Call the Noir family, take a picture and send it to the Dauntless with the caption, "Busy, stop memeing me." He then turns the device off entirely as it starts to blow up with messages seemingly before the picture is finished being sent. While Vernon is rushing around to do 102 little things to make sure everything is going perfectly, Miro Noir just feels a sensation of contentment as her newborn daughter drinks deeply of her milk. Then he stops and is suddenly beside her, just watching in awe as their newborn girl suckles deeply. What do you think? Princess Materielle? He asks gently, and Miro Noir lets out a humming sound. I think we should wait and see, but she's definitely a hungry one. So she has my appetite? Well, she has your hair if those adorable little tufts are anything to go on, Vernon says. It won't be for a few years until the horns start being anything more than tiny bumps on the side of the head. But the tale says she's definitely an Apook. There's a knocking at the front door and Vernon rises while giving Miro Noir a kiss on the cheek. Just stay with our girl, beloved. I'll make sure everything is perfect. Oh, Vernon, it already is. She sighs as he leaves with a bow to head to the front door. About 10 seconds later, her mother, Cia Noir, rushes in before stopping at the threshold of the room. Oh my goodness, I am so lucky that I was out for a stroll today, the older Apook gushes, struggling to not disturb the hungry baby from feeding. Meet your granddaughter, Mother, Miro Noir says gently, not wanting to disturb her newborn daughter's feeding. The girl was ravenous, but that was expected. Vernon ate enormous amounts compared to others in his size and weight category. Of course, his children would be much the same. The tiny girl finally stops drinking and pulls away before squirming a little. Vernon places a towel on his shoulder that stretches down his back. Just as the tiny girl begins crying, Vernon gently takes the baby and gently begins to burp her. What are you doing? Cia Noir asks, even as Vernon hums gently to soothe the newborn. He's burping her. Human babies are ravenous and drink so quickly they occasionally swallow air. When that happens, they need to be burped, as holding the air in is painful, but they're so young that they don't know to let it out. Miro Noir explains and CIA nods. They're also prone to crying a great deal, but I understand that's fairly common across the galaxy. Oh yes. To a newborn, everything new is the worst thing to ever have happened. So they scream and cry and try to do something. Cia Noir begins to explain when suddenly there's a slight sound from the baby and the smell of burning cloth. A fire-breathing burp, Vernon notes with slightly wide eyes. That's new, Cia Noir notes as the baby starts getting fussy. Oh, I think she misses mommy already, Vernon says, gently passing the baby to Miro Noir, who takes her and starts to rock the newborn. Vernon looks over the slight spill onto the towel and accompanied scorch mark. He hadn't considered fire-breathing burps. Something to be careful about. Have you decided on a name yet? Cia Noir asks, and Miro Noir contemplates. We were thinking of Tila Noir for one of our daughters, Vernon says. But this little wonder has arrived very... Miro Noir's cut off by a knock at the back door. Ah, so this is what I get for turning off the communicator. Vernon grumps to himself as he goes to answer it. There's a loud cheer when the door opens and it startles the baby, as does the slam of the door immediately after. Fortunately, Miro Noir is able to calm the girl down somewhat as she starts to cry, and it dissolves away into slight whimpering at the strange sounds. There's the sound of the door opening again. Are you willing to be quiet so as not to startle the baby? Vernon asks plainly. We need to take some pictures. You're sending that first one to the Dauntless, and then turning off your communicator has driven people insane, Dale says with a chuckle. When you weren't answering, they started spamming US to try and get some information. Oh, for the love of... In a bit. She's not been out of the egg for an hour. So, it's a little girl? Healthy Apook girl. A little hungry, but we guess that would be one of the likeliest results of hybridization, Vernon says. And the towel, another sorcerer asks. Burped her and she let out a bit of fire as we did so. What's her name? Derchar clearly asks. We were discussing that when you clowns showed up. Oh, well, when you're feeling up to it, bring her out back here. Some sunlight might be good for her, and we can all have a look without crowding too badly if we're outside. Koga offers, and there's some general agreement. All right, but first, I want a doctor to look at her. Just make things 100% sure they're fine. All right, that's fair. Also, I think most of us should head back to the forest before we start a fire hazard all crammed together like this, Dale remarks. You do that, Vernon says, and he closes the door, less forcefully this time. How many showed up? Mironoir asks as he walks back in. Everyone, or nearly everyone. The yard was packed. I'm just thankful they didn't trample the dark wood flowers I was growing. They're sorcerers themselves. They would have avoided damaging those flowers. There were that many back there, crammed in shoulder to shoulder, Vernon replies as he sits next to Mironoir, who's just gently holding their napping baby girl. I think it's best we get a diaper on her before any accidents happen. Let me help, I've done this a fair few times. Cianoir offers and Vernon nods thankfully. Everyone's so excited, Mironoir says with a smile. Firstborn human hybrid. The undaunted are going insane, and we can probably expect a huge number of gifts to come in sometime soon. I'm actually surprised, though. I would have expected one of the EFL boys to be a father first. Well, it seems our little lady here just couldn't wait, Mironoir replies as her mother finishes fishing out a diaper and then helps her put it on the newborn girl. Although we do need to finish up our ideas for a name. We agreed for Apuk, naming conventions for all our Apuk children, so she's a Noir. But is she Tila Noir or someone else? Ari Noir? My older sister isn't exactly using it anymore, Cia Noir offers, and Vernon and Mironoir look to each other. Maybe it's close. It's very close and good, but there's something lacking. I can't quite put my finger on it, though, Vernon says as he starts digging through the baby clothes for a proper-sized bit of clothing to help keep their little girl warm. We're starting a new tradition. A new type of life has been brought to the galaxy. A new tradition is needed, something to guide the rest by, Mironoir says, and Vernon thinks before smiling. Well, we have been thinking about toying with our last names. It would be awkward to suddenly be referred to as Chez Noir or Noir Chez all the time, but what if, yes, it's a clan registration, a larger name to unite? Erin Noir of the Chez Noir clan? Clan? Mironoir asks him with a smile. Clan, do you really think we're going to stop here, or that our own daughters and sons won't find love? We need to be ready for it to be big, Vernon says with a smile. A clan name to show two families joining. The humans carry the Chez, the Apuk the Noir. Stronger together as the Chez Noir. I like it. Cia Noir muses out loud before giving her blessing. It's also fairly easy on the paperwork and lets us honor where we came from while embracing what we are now. Vernon continues, and both Mironoir and Cia Noir allow it to roll around in their minds. Also, I can keep thinking my Mironoir without any trouble. Oh, Vernon, it's perfect. Ari Noir of the Chez Noir clan. The start of something new that honors the old, Cia Noir says happily. There's a knock on the front door. Hopefully the doctor. I hope she's a pediatrician, Cia Noir says warningly. Of course. Vernon says, sounding slightly offended that he wouldn't bring in a pediatrician to check his newborn. Thankfully it is, and he welcomes Dr. Iron Hora into his home to check on little Erin Noir. A clean bill of health,